What is going on, guys? My amplified unit from my red team to my channel member gold unit. Salute. Where do you even go with this cold open teaser? There's so much podcast to get to, so much to talk about. I'm not sure there's enough coffee to do such, but we're going to give it the old college try. And I'm talking big stories. All right, there was a big name down at the PC down in Orlando this week. That's not the shocking part for BC. We expected this person to return months ago. Unfortunately, his injury did not get back on track. More time was needed. And now we're just starting to talk about this superstar's return. And while we can't wait to see that, and that's a story, there was a bigger name down in Orlando, down at the PC this week. Now, I do not have confirmation that they were there together. If so, that just made this more interesting. I'll try to get confirmation on that. But he was down at the PC. And this name is bigger, literally and figuratively bigger than the first superstar we heard was down in Orlando this week. Now, for this second superstar, speculation immediately arose. Is he returning to WWE? Well, wait till you hear what he said about a WWE return in the near future. Because he made a statement on it, this individual. Oh, there's no more speculation. There's just one thing that needs to get done, and he's back. Especially given the current circumstances for this individual. It's going to happen in the near future, if it is. We're going to talk about what I'm talking about, right? That's why it's called the cold open teaser, man. Big things happening in the next few months with returns. We saw John Cena. We saw The Rock. This may just be the beginning. And over on the AEW side of things, a couple of big injuries at their Grand Slam Dynamite event just last night. Big injuries, man. One of them was a freak accident. You know, you think CM Punk, thought it was a good idea to stage dive during his entrance. Well, this individual didn't do that, but he did take the leap of faith, and it didn't end up too well. We're going to talk about that injury with one of their top superstars, by the way, one of their top wrestlers. And then on the flip side, another individual was injured last night, totally created a botched finish, which I blame the referee for more than the individual that got injured. But we're going to talk about this dude. He's another top superstar, top wrestler in AEW. And we're going to talk about the injury and how it was inevitable for this person, right? The first guy we're going to talk about, that's a freak accident. The second one was inevitable because that's just the fire that he plays with. And it was only a matter of time. Still sucks to hear about it and to see it. We'll talk about both injuries, both to top wrestlers and what it means for AEW going forward. We'll talk about both of those injuries coming up in this podcast. We're also going to discuss Lacey Evans coming to the defense of Nia Jax. That's right, remember Lacey Evans? Asuka is standing up for Nia Jax against the backlash of her return. Now it looks like Lacey Evans is criticizing fans that just don't feel that Nia Jax should be the one running through the roster, especially because they feel that she needs a lot more work to be done in her arsenal. So Lacey Evans is now defending Nia Jax. We're going to talk about that. A WWE female star that's about to return. This may shock you. Wait till you hear where she's been staying. And she's mixing it up with the AEW female squad, man. I'll talk about that coming up. We'll also discuss, we'll go through the Grand Slam results. Not a full review, but we'll go over the results for sure. We'll talk about the Raw rating. Oh, wait till you hear the Raw rating. Lowest in show history. That's right. If it seems like we've said that before, it's because they keep hitting new lows. But this is the lowest in show history for a first-time run anyway, live. This was the lowest in show history. So we have to talk about the Raw rating as well. And we're going to talk Tony Khan, man. Tony Khan finally addresses why he does not cut promos inside the ring. Contradictions here, man. Wait till you hear his answer, Tony Khan, why he cuts these promos up at the stage. Or, most of the time, in the back. Tony Khan, a little bit of fun with this answer to this question. And a lot more, man. Yeah, I'll just leave the cold open at that. We're going to get a swig of coffee. We're going to come right on back. We're going to start tackling these subjects, man. The only way we know how. Fully amplified. Grab your coffees, lock in the earbuds. Smash those ups. And let's get amplified. I tell you, man. That cold open was like a podcast in itself. I don't know how that was only 5 minutes and change, man. There's a lot of things we got to start tackling. I'll try to get, we'll try to put this into like a nice little 1 hour present with a bow on top. You never know when BC's talking pro wrestling, but I forgot, man, in the cold open, I didn't even talk about this. 5 big names, man, that contracts are up in WWE. And everybody already has all 5 of these individuals AEW bound. Not so fast. Wait, where are they going to go? What is Tony possibly going to do with all 5? Because these are top superstars in WWE. All 5 of them. Wait till you hear the names, and then we have to talk, where do you go with them? What does Tony possibly do with 5 more top WWE talents? He can't even control the roster he's got now. We have to talk about this as well. So I'm adding even more from the cold open. I told you, this is a packed, stacked, jacked podcast, bro. BC, how much coffee did you already have, man? Funny you should ask. It's only, what is it? Like 9, 10 a.m.? I don't know. Fucking, and I've already had about 6 coffees. It is what it is. We're called Amplified for a reason. Top notch. Top guys. It's what we do. Now, WWE is, but before we kick anything off, I got to, just breaking news here. WWE is bringing its Elimination Chamber PLE Premium Live Event, pay-per-view, I still call it. They're bringing their Elimination Chamber to Australia right before WrestleMania this upcoming year. So 2024, February 24th, a month before WrestleMania, the last stop is going to be Australia for Elimination Chamber. Now, if you're wondering, the last PLE there in Australia was roughly 5 years ago. It was called Super Showdown. And that was in Melbourne. I believe just over 70,000 fans were in attendance. This event is going to be at the Perth Optus Stadium. Perth Optus. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly for the Australian audience out there. Perth Optus Stadium. Now, this has a capacity just over 60,000. So you don't expect the same crowd that was in Melbourne 5 years ago for Super Showdown. This will be a little less, but you're still going to pack tens of thousands of individuals here. And WWE says, and I quote about this big event, we are coming to Australia with a full week of WWE events and experiences. We hope to leave a lasting memory for Western Australia and the entire universe. End quote. A whole week of activities and events planned, making this the most memorable stay Australia has ever seen. So, is this like a mini WrestleMania before WrestleMania? That's what it sounds like. Sounds like they're really going to pump from Royal Rumble through Elimination Chamber to WrestleMania 40, which is that big anniversary number, right? 40. We expect The Rock to be there and so many others, and Roman to finally lose his title to somebody. So that, again, that speculates. Do you bring CM Punk back? That Survivor Series in Chicago set up the Rumble straight into Mania, another big name. That's a side story. I'm just saying, it looks like they're really pumping up the beginning of next year. You start that off in Chicago at Survivor Series, probably the way to go. But Elimination Chamber is sounding like a mini WrestleMania. It's funny, for 5 years, it doesn't sound like that long ago, right? I think it was 2018 was the Super Showdown in Australia. And guys, I recall the Shield was together in that event. Isn't that wild to think of Roman Reigns, Sethington Rollins, and Deanathan Ambrose all together in one group? but they were I forgot who they were taking on. I think it was like a jobber match. Wasn't like Dolph Ziggler in there? Maybe Drew McIntyre. I think he was a little jobberish back then. I don't know. It wasn't like the Wyatt family or anything. They were in there with, it was almost like a little squash match for the Shield. I recall that. I just don't recall it enough to know who they were taking on, but I know the Shield was together. That was the event that Triple H got injured at the beginning of the match. He was in there with HBK. Shawn Michaels decided to come out of retirement for one match to take on The Undertaker and Kane. And Michaels was completely bald. I remember this. And so he's like all conscious about his head. You got Triple H over there holding his leg because he like pulled another quad or some shit. I don't know. It was rough. Shawn Michaels still had it though, man. Shawn Michaels, like, it was like he didn't miss a beat. But I remember that in the main event, Triple H absolutely just muffed himself up, and he just told Shawn as Shawn went outside and to pick up H, and H is like, "I'm done, man." And I'm like, oh boy, it's the beginning of the match. And I also remember Charlie Flair winning a championship at that event. I think it was over Becky Lynch. But of course, if you're going to have tens of thousands of fans, you got to have Charlie win a championship. They go hand in hand with this company. Anyway, that's just some of the things that I remember there. I think John Cena was in a tag team with Bobby Lashley. That's kind of odd. I forgot who they were taking on. I just remember them two together. I think Ronda Rousey was in a tag team with the Bella Twins in a 6-person tag as well. I don't know who they were taking on again. I just recall, I just remember that event, like parts of it. Because it was just weird pairings, like John Cena and Bob Lashley, or Ronda and the Bella Twins. You know what I mean? The Shield, just having an exhibition jobber match. Shawn Michaels and H versus Kane and Tate. It was just a lot of weird shit just to fit top names on the card. So anyway, this is their first time back in 5 years. We'll see what they have planned. It's pre-WrestleMania. Hopefully it's a lot of fun. Do we go into... Let's talk about the 5 names that I was just talking about. All right, 5 names that are their contracts are ending this year in WWE, and all 5 that we know of, they don't have a new deal yet. Those 5 names: Sheamus, end of the year, done. Becky Lynch, end of the year, done. Drew McIntyre, end of the year, done. Edge, done now, I believe. LA Knight, done, end of the year. They're trying to get something finished with him finalized because they're trying to make him a top guy. They waited long enough, and they're going every which way around the ways to make him a top guy. They're doing everything kind of ass backwards, but at least it looks like they're attempting more than they were in the past. But they don't want to fully give this guy the rocket if he's not going to sign, obviously. We were hearing they're kind of far apart on money. But end of the year, LA Knight is with Edge, Drew Mac, Becky, and Sheamus. 5 top names. Now, let's just say none of them re-sign. Everybody is already talking about these 5 individuals. Or say 4 out of the 5, 3 out of the 5, 2 out of the 5, 1 out of the 5 is AEW bound. What are you doing with them? Guys, what are you doing with them? There's already top WWE names in there that can't really get the time of day. Adam Cole is still trying to find himself. We're going to talk about him in a minute, by the way. And unfortunately, what happened last night with this dude. But they're still trying to find their way with Adam Cole. One day he's like in the main event. The next day, like, you forget he's even not on the show. Keith Lee, you really have to do some digging to find a Keith Lee match. This guy should have been a top star 10 times over already. There's just so many individuals that come over from WWE. Saraya, even with a title, you can't tell me is any different than Saraya without the title. Fan response and reaction, just everything. And that's not a diss to these wrestlers. It's just they don't know how to book them, really. And there's so many top names that are taking up top spots or big matches, like Moxes and the Jerichos and the Bryan Danielsons. My point is, the highway is clogged with WWE wrestlers going to AEW. That highway is clogged. Even Punk went over. That didn't go well twice, and finally his contract was terminated. But you even had Punk over there, which was named the top free agent of the last 7 years, and that fell to the wayside. The highway is clogged. It is clear now that more is not the solution. Sometimes it's quality over quantity. And this is where Tony Khan is going to have to put away the checkbook. I understand it's a fun surprise, and these shows need surprises, but over the last 5 years in AEW, we've seen enough surprises. The problem is it doesn't equate to anything afterwards. It doesn't evolve into anything afterwards. We see the debut, and everyone's like, that's all I needed to see. There's no big storyline set up. It's clear Tony doesn't really have a path. We're just going to see some good wrestling matches in the future. But you need more than that. You need the stories. You need to give your audience a reason to care, other than wrestler A is taking on wrestler B and they're doing a lot of moves and sequences. Wrestling is more than that. So, my point is, you can bring all the WWE talent you want. You can bring in one night Sheamus, Becky, Drew, Edge, LA Knight. Guess what? You only have 8 segments on a Dynamite. You have 8 segments on a Collision. You have 8 segments on a Rampage. Nobody already watches Rampage, or bare minimum watches Rampage. I think they were back into 300,000s in the ratings. Collision has once again dipped under 5, and there's only more stiff competition coming later this year for Collision. So look for them to dip back into the 3s. Do they go as low as 2s when college football really heats up, and you have a WWE PLE on Saturday night, and you have some big UFC prelims? Then you could see 200 some odd thousand watching a Collision. You only have so many spots is my point, though. If you're just going to add more, and Tony Khan is already hiring every independent wrestler, left, west, north, south of the equator, any which way he turns and sees a new indie talent that's the flavor of the month, Tony hires them. That's great. They get an extra paycheck, put some food on the table, but your product, your ship is sinking if you keep adding more roster talent to that ship. Eventually, there's a weight limit, and that ship is not going to be able to get to shore and deliver the outcome that you were hoping for. The ship is going to sink before it can reach that shore. Stop adding more. Right? That's the problem here, man. Book who you have now immaculately, right? Let's get the right storylines in place. Let's make these stars feel like stars. Once the ratings start to catapult, once AEW is on both feet thriving, not just surviving. Once that's happening, then you bring in more talent. But right now, over the last 5 years, I should say, he's been adding, and the ratings are going backwards. Nobody's caring. These wrestlers that were top stars in WWE, or as best they can be, they weren't booked that properly in WWE either. But top stars, supposedly, they go over to AEW and they feel irrelevant. They show up to AEW, we give them a pop, we talk about it big for a day or two, and then in a week or two, it's on to the next, because there's nothing captivating you to watch them going forward. It's not must-see TV, right? That would be the problem. And speaking of must-see TV, that leads me into my next topic, the WWE Raw rating. And let me preface this with NXT's rating, which just came out, by the way. NXT scored 824,000 viewers, down from just under 850 last week, but still over 800,000. Second week in a row, Becky Lynch in NXT. Just like we saw with the Judgment Day, they're immensely stale on Monday Night Raw, the Judgment Day. But on Tuesday night's show, the Tuesday night NXT audience, they really gravitate toward these big names from the main roster, and that's why they keep doing it, and the ratings are showing you that it's working. So when it comes time for that new TV rights deal, guess who's cashing in for Tuesday nights? I can't say the same about Raw. Wait till you hear the way. They're going the opposite way. Soon NXT is going to top Monday Night Raw if they keep going like this. We joke, but it's true. But NXT, man, 824. Now, if you guys have not been paying attention to ratings, AEW Dynamite has slipped from 950 as an average over the last several months to around 850. Sometimes 825, sometimes 875. We don't have this week's rating. It's a Grand Slam. It's almost like a mini pay-per-view last night for Dynamite. So we expect that to be well over 900,000. I don't know if they're going to hit 1 million. I don't show... That's rough. That's asking a lot to get another 150,000, but I think they'll be well over 900 because it is a themed show for Tony Khan. But before Grand Slam, they've been hovering around 850. Well, guys, the last couple of weeks, NXT is now hovering around 850. They were at 850 last week, 824 this week. My point is, man, if AEW slips even just the slightest and NXT remains at 850, NXT could actually defeat AEW in the ratings, man. Now, does that stay consistent? I don't know, but that's not a good sign for AEW, and that's another reason why I say stop with the more. Look at the roster you have. Now, how can we make the best television possible that makes it appointment television, must-see television for your audience? That's how AEW can get their rating back up, at least to 950, and then you work your way from there toward that million. But NXT, man, staying consistently over 800,000. This is a brand that not long ago, just a couple months ago, tops, they were hovering around 500,000 to 600,000 viewers. Isn't that wild, man? How they upped their own rating 30% Wild. Now for WWE, I gotta get another sip of coffee because wait till you hear this. Their main roster's Monday Night Raw show just pulled in their lowest rating of all time. The lowest Monday Night Raw rating ever recorded for a first-time live viewing. 1.33. Down from last week's record low of 1.37. You think you can't go any lower, but it was Aaron Rodgers, it was the Jets and the Bills last week, right? So everybody used that as an excuse. I told you guys, no, this is deeper than just a big football game. And I get it, it was on 2 different channels, it was a big game. They pulled in the biggest Monday Night Football rating of all time. Well, yeah, because nobody even had Monday Night Raw on their last button channel, right? They during commercial for the football game, the ratings showed us that nobody even cared. Rodgers was gone early in the first quarter. He was injured. He was out of the game. And still, the ratings show us for Raw that nobody even cared to tune in during commercial breaks. That's where the big problem is. Halftime showed us that nobody was tuning into Monday Night Raw. So this week, right, they pull a 1.37. I told you guys, no, we saw the writing on the wall. Even without a big football game last week, they were not pulling in any more than 1.45. 1.45, judging by the show that they produced and what we saw in the intricate details of the ratings. By the quarterlies, 1.45 was the highest they were going to get. The football game, yeah, that brought them to a 1.37, but 100,000 people were affected tops. Because when your audience doesn't even tune in during commercials or halftime, they don't care about your show. It's not good enough. It's an afterthought. And they have no FOMO, no fear of missing out. So then this week comes up. You don't have the Jets and Bills. You don't have Aaron Rodgers. But there's 2 football games. 2 subpar games, but there's at least 2. So, okay, WWE is going to take a right hook and an uppercut as well, right? You got the right hook and you got the uppercut. All right, WWE's going to take it right, left, you name it, they're going to get hit pretty much this week. So WWE has to produce a really good show. Again, bare minimum, you want your audience to have the last channel, not on the second football game, on WWE. You at least want them checking in every 20 minutes, 30 minutes, bare minimum. The ratings this week showed us that they didn't even care once again to show up for commercials, halftime, or every 20 to 30 minutes. Nobody cared about the show, guys. That's the bigger problem. A 1.33. 1.33. You could have 7 football games. You're professional wrestling. You were battling, going head-to-head, defeating Monday Night Football just 22, 23 years ago. A little over 20 years ago, you were beating up Monday Night Football. Now, all of a sudden, there's no competing with it. We're not asking you to beat Monday Night Football in 2023, not with this product. We're asking you to compete. You were beating up Monday Night Football in the late 90s into early 2000s, still holding your own. And then all of a sudden, in 2023, fans are so quick to say, yeah, football, basically. It'll be back better when football is over, is what we heard, right? We just heard that last offseason. When football is over, BC, it'll be back to 2.5. Everybody relax. No, they couldn't even get back to 2 million. Once or twice around WrestleMania and SummerSlam. That was the only time. Other than that, their normal was 1.6, 1.7. Sometimes they would hit 1.8, and if they were very fortunate, they would hit a 1.9 once in a blue moon, right? But I told you guys, they're not going to get back to 2.5. They're going to struggle to get to 2.2, and even 2.0, 2 million is going to be hard. Because what happens is once your audience, I say this all the time like a broken record, so to my tried and trues, sorry, not sorry, I have to keep repeating myself. When people miss anything, wrestling or any of their favorite shows, like Walking Dead, this is how they lost so many viewers in the span of just 2 to 3 years. Because enough people stopped watching for more than 1, 2, 3 weeks in a row. When that happens and they realize that the world did not implode, that life is still going on pretty beautifully, in fact, you have even more time on your hands because you ain't watching BS. When people realize that they can do that, they can miss this show all the time and they're just fine, that's no more FOMO. There's no more fear of missing out. There's no fear of missing out. They can miss this show and they miss nothing. In fact, if they tune into Monday Night Raw 2 months after not viewing it at all, they miss 2 full months and they click on Raw, they're going to see the same matches they were watching 2 months ago. You'll see the Judgment Day in there with Sammy and KO. There's Dominic and Cody for the 18th time. They know they're missing nothing. So I told you guys, the bigger problem is beyond football. The bigger problem is so many people are missing Raw every week that once football is over, they're going to hope that they can get 1 to 200,000 viewers back. And they barely did that. 2 1s and 2 2s is where they were at before football last season. 2 2s, I'm being generous. Around football, they dipped all the way to about 1-5, 1-6. After football, 1-6 to 1-8 if I'm being generous. They only pulled in 100 to 200,000 fans back. So they lost nearly 500,000 people from last season's football, and they never came back. So now, in just 2 weeks, you've already seen them dip to the low 1-3s. 2 weeks in a row. Next week, I believe there's 2 more football games. What are you going to say if they pull a 1.28, a 1.27? BC, it was 2 more football games. Wait till after football, man. No. Too many people are missing every week. So even when football is over with, your new normal, if you're lucky, will have dropped from the 1-6 to 1-9 to now 1-3 to 1-6, anywhere in that number range. 1-3 to 1. So we don't know yet. We have to give more weeks to go by, see if WWE corrects this issue, and see if football really just delivers a wabaka. But I'm being generous now and giving it a 300,000 viewer gap, 1-3 to 1-6. By the time football is done, I would not be shocked if you see a 1.2 number for World Wrestling Entertainment. And your new average post-football this season will be under 1.5. Then you're in a world of shit, because then you start next year's football season at a 1-1 if you're lucky, and then do the math. You're going to slip right to that 1 million. Could you imagine Monday Night Raw pulling less than 1 million? Could you imagine Dynamite? Dynamite is still, let's just say Dynamite doesn't even correct anything. They're still stagnant. They're still struggling with their audience, but Dynamite somehow beats Monday Night Raw. NXT is right there with Monday Night Raw on Tuesday nights. It's not wild anymore to think that, guys. It's not. WWE almost pulled a 1.2 some odd. They were 30,000 viewers away from being in the 1-2s. This is what I said was going to happen a few years ago. And some people chuckled, BC, it's not going to drop that low, bro. There's no amount of cord cutting. There's no amount of people watching the highlights the next day. There's no amount of football games or presidential speeches or holidays. Nothing is going to bring WWE's rating that close to 1 million, BC. And here we are. And it was right at the same time frame I told you guys. Next year, you're going to start seeing 1.5s. Then you're going to start seeing 1.2s, which is this year. And here we are, almost at 1.2. And I told you guys, by 2025, this company, with the trajectory they're going, is going to be under 1 million. So far, BC has been absolutely correct on every single number target I've mentioned. And I don't want to be right about it, trust me. I want them to correct this, make this appointment television, make it must-see. NFL, their ratings are up over 10% over the last couple of years. You know why? They changed some things around. They made their product better. They cut off the The BS, there was a lot of BS politically they were doing and XYZ that needed to be flipped, and they corrected it, and it brought everybody back to the game they loved. WWE needs to tidy up their own place right now, correct their wrongs, and make this must-see. The cord cutting and all that, it is absolute BS because the NFL has shown you people want to watch live programming. They just need a reason to do such. WWE is giving them every reason not to tune in because they don't want to fall asleep at 8 p.m. They don't want to watch 3 hours in a zombie state of mind. And that's what this show produces. This show sucks. Monday Night Raw is horrendous. Monday Night Raw, once again this week, just had Sami Zayn and KO face-to-face with the Judgment Day. For the 97th month in a row, Cody Rhodes versus Dominic again. We just saw this matchup at Money in the Bank 2 months ago. You've seen Cody versus Damian. You've seen Cody versus Balor a couple of times. You've seen Cody in 6-man tag action with the Judgment Day, 8-man tag action, and you're going to continue to see this every week. Shinsuke is going to attack Seth Rollins every week. Where's the storyline? It's the same matches, the Viking Raiders and the New Day every week. And if Nail Polish Nelson comes back, Flip Flops Flanagan, Scooter Stevenson. If Matt Riddle comes back, you're going to see Drew and Flip Flops and the Viking Raiders and the New Day doing their thing every week. It's not fun. Every week, this company's their thought process on good television is let's just keep throwing out the same individuals in the same segments every week. We'll just move a puzzle piece here and there. But every week, you're going to get Shinsuke and Sethington fighting. Every week, you're going to get the same Viking Raiders New Day type match with Drew and maybe Matt Riddle. Every week, you're going to get Sami and KO in the Judgment Day or the Judgment Day and Cody because now it's a faction, right? It's lazy booking. We have a faction of heels, and every top face is just going to be revolved around that. So we'll just do the same thing every week. It's not fun. These are not storylines. Them going out there and saying some words and then fighting every week, that's not a storyline. That's not making this fun. This show is beyond stale. If this show was bread, stale bread, it would be the greenest mold ever seen, ever beknownst to man. This would be the moldiest bread ever. That's how stale this product is. Monday Night Raw is horrendous. There's nothing interesting. The biggest thing we could talk about this week, the thumbnail, the headline, all of it, was Nia Jax running through the women's division. And that's not even a good thing. But when I thought about the review, what is the headline? What is the thumbnail? What are we talking about? There was nothing. There was nothing to discuss. The show was that bad. Weeks prior, you're trying to pick the best scenarios of the night, right? 3 hours, everything sucked. I guess Chad Gable and Gunther, that was a good match, even though Chad lost. And then this week, you have Chadathan just losing to Bronson Reed. But Chad just had such a good performance. Why is he 50-50 booked, making him once again irrelevant? They don't think about what they're doing, right? They don't think about what they're doing at all. Nia Jax is their answer. Ratings are in the tank. The show is as boring as it's ever been. The show actually just downright sucks. Let's bring Nia Jax back. That'll correct the wrongs. And the ratings are plummeting. Her return was 2 weeks ago at a 1.37. Now that you had a week to digest it, this is when everybody goes, Nia's back? I gotta watch. That's what they were thinking, right? And they pull an even lower number with Nia Jax. Just one big problem and a whole sea of problems. Monday Night Raw sucks. It's not fun. 3 hours of redundancy. The same people in the same situations. That doesn't make it a storyline. You have to get creative. Go to the back. Go on the roof. Go into the street. Go to the local bar. But have these individuals, these characters, doing things outside the box that we're going to remember, or at the bare minimum, talk about in a positive way the next day. This show deserves a 1.3. It deserves 4, 5. It deserves Collision, Rampage numbers, if you ask BC. But this show got a 1.3 for 2 weeks in a row, not because of football. It's because nobody cared about it. Football was just an excuse. Football gave those wrestling fans that are downright sickened by this product, it gave wrestling fans an outlet, something else just to view for 3 hours. Monday Night Football was the perfect excuse to turn off Monday Night Raw, but it wasn't the reason for the 1.3s. That's the talk I got from Monday Night Raw. I can go hours on this subject. Moving on, let's go to the big boy subject. What do you guys say? Well, let's go to a little one first, and then we'll start with the who was down at the PC, down in Orlando. 2 big names, one of them massive. First, a little fun story. Liv Morgan, she's on the mend. She's coming back. She had some ailing injuries, but she also had other things to take care of for her hiatus, so it was twofold. But Liv Morgan, her return is imminent. We are hearing over the next several months. She's supposed to be into the Royal Rumble, and she's been... this is the interesting part. Not her return. That's going to be fun, and we can't wait to see Liv back. Hopefully better than ever. But she's been staying with AEW star Lana. Miro and Lana. That's got to be a frisky household, man. Miro's hot, flexible wife is what he called her last week on television, right? Yeah, that's funny. Liv Morgan, of course, they're friends, but the Liv Morgan staying with Lana out in, I believe, the Hollywood area, California. She's conducting business out there. Liv Morgan with some big plans, man. So while she's conducting this business and getting back ring ready, she's been staying with Miro and Lana, AEW stars. So, interesting tidbit. Liv Morgan to AEW, confirmed. No, I'm playing. She's coming back to WWE. She's got a contract into through 2024, I believe. All right, sip of coffee. Big swig of coffee. And then we're going to talk these 2 big names down at the PC. So, the first name... this was been well documented, more so than the second name. I'm sure a lot of people didn't even know that this person was down there or what they said about a return. So I'll go over the one that's a little bit more known. Randy Orton. Last week he was at the PC, or this past week. He was at the Performance Center, spotted by many people. First, it was just a report that he was spotted. Then many people did say, but also, full transparency, some of those people that said they spotted him, they saw him weeks ago as well at the Performance Center. So this brings me to my next point, where I feel if he's returning, yes, it's imminent, but I've said that for months now. He was actually at WrestleMania. We were hearing. BC's people told him that before anybody. Sure enough, he was spotted at WrestleMania, did not make an appearance. But it's been imminent, his return. But he's been at the Performance Center a couple of times, and this leads you to believe that maybe it's just for side business. Maybe he was in the area. He's got a lot of kids with his new wife, through a different marriage or different father, I believe, with his wife. So, or maybe some of them are his kids. I don't even know. He's got a bunch of kids with his new wife, so maybe they were just down in Orlando going to the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, right? Touring around the world with the Food and Wine Festival. Maybe they're at Harry Potter World at Universal. Who knows? It's Orlando. And I told you guys, the PC, that's Grand Central Station for WWE. That's Grand Central Station. It's not Stamford, Connecticut. If you want the scoop, if you want to see the top people in the business of WWE anyway, more specifically, down in Orlando is where it's at. That's where everybody is every day. You never know who's walking in there, man. From a Paul Levesque to a Randy Orton to the next individual we're about to discuss. Anybody, man. Top officials, legends. The Performance Center, I'm telling you, everybody goes down there, and you have to for everything. They fill out a lot of paperwork down there, so you don't have to go to New York anymore. You don't have to go all the way to Stamford. If you're more down south, you can go right over to the PC. You can do the paperwork there. They fax it over. If you have to get any type of protocol to get back into the ring, that's where their PTs and everybody is. So you have to be cleared there. So that's what I mean. Everybody is there, man. So Randy Orton could have been doing a plethora of things. It could have been dotting I's and crossing T's paperwork. It could have been just seeing friends while his family's down at the parks. It could have been a plethora of things. Or, yes, he could be getting his final clearance by the PT and the doctorial staff down there. Absolutely could be. But Randy Orton, I'm sure you guys already heard that, though. That's the latest that we have on it. Now, the second name is the bigger name, literally and figuratively. Batista. I walk alone. A badass theme song, too. Batista. Recently at the Performance Center. I cannot get clarification or confirmation that they were there together. I would love to. My people don't know. I have two specific people down in Florida that tell me everything I need to know. They know a lot more behind the scenes than BC, and they cannot confirm that. Everybody they talk to, they cannot confirm that. But Batista was there. They can confirm that. Batista was at the PC. So now you start to think, well, wait a second. What is Batista doing at the... I mean, is he in one of their 5 rings? Is he doing a little? Is he shaking off a little bit of rust? Well, hold up. Batista was recently asked about this in an interview, a couple of interviews. One of them real recent, but it's an interview he did before this latest one, where he gets really specific about his WWE return. Listen to this. This is a quote from Batista just recently. I think it was like Variety or eonline.com, something like that. But a reputable interview. And Batista says, and I quote, about a WWE return. I had retired. Yes, I had my retirement match against my buddy Triple H, and it was perfect. But right now, my schedule is open. And if I get the call and they have something in mind, a segment, a moment, sure, we can do something. End quote. Right now, my schedule is open, and it all factors on if I get the call and pitch me something. You guys know there's a strike right now in Hollywood. So I know, the more you think about it, you're like, oh, actually, BC, this does make sense. John Cena just came back because his schedule is open. There's no filming going on because of the writer's strike. John Cena committed to a couple of months straight up because he knew this strike was no production was starting up in the next couple of months. So John Cena committed. The Rock has not done anything to show solidarity with the SAG-AFTRA union, but even he returned to WWE. Now, I know the writers in WWE are not part of SAG-AFTRA, but The Rock was holding out. He even thought that going back to WWE was not a good look. John Cena got backlash. So The Rock let it play out for a few weeks, and then he saw like the backlash was it wasn't that much, and it went away pretty quickly. Because people know John Cena came from WWE. No harm, no foul. If you can make millions elsewhere while we're on strike and while we're trying to get $1, we ain't going to hate you too much. The Rock goes back to WWE because his schedule is wide open because of the strike. Batista has gone full Hollywood. Guess what? Hollywood is shut down. John Cena, The Rock, you guys are seeing a trend. And now Batista does not hide the fact. He could have just been like, oh, you never know. You never say never. Or what he's been saying, no, I'm done. He has been saying for years, since that retirement match with Triple H, he said, I'm done. That was it. That was my swan song. I'm off into the sunset. I'm not coming back. There's no reason. That was the best way possible. And now, different tune. Hollywood is shut down. And he says, and I quote, right now, my schedule is open, and if I get the call and they have something in mind, we can do something. Just takes the one call. You saw what the ratings do. They haven't created new stars. In 10 years, they have nobody. Roman, and finally, because they finally had him turn heel, it's working. Charlotte, they've tried that for 8-9 years. It's still no connection. And you got nobody else. LA Knight, they just waited 8 months when they should have done this 8 months ago. But at least they're starting to do something with LA Knight. We'll see where that goes. Cody Rhodes, he's got the audience behind him. They botched at 39. Can they keep this momentum with Cody for many more months to get us to 40, to get us to the same spot that should have been done in 39? Remains to be seen. But Cody Rhodes, I guess, would be a guy. There's just not many stars that they've created. So when you rely on these old-timers, they pop the rating, man. Cena and The Rock was kind of it, though. You got nobody else. Undertaker, he already said he doesn't want to make these appearances. Batista, I guess, is it. And he's saying, I'm ready. The call. If you got something, I'm listening. So now a lot of people are thinking this is imminent, right? This makes sense. They're trying to get the TV rights deals. That's why you bring back Cena. That's why you bring back The Rock. Their schedule is open. We need to pop a rating. That's why you're seeing all the stars on the main roster go to NXT. That's why you're seeing that. And it worked. Look at what NXT is doing. creeping closer to that million. Look what The Rock and Cena did to SmackDown. They were at a 2.0 2 weeks ago. This week, almost at a 2.6. I told you guys it was over 2.4. That was the overnight rating. The final rating was well over 2.5. They were almost going to 2.6. They pulled in over 500,000 viewers, The Rock and Cena. When you have TV rights deals and Fox and Comcast is telling you we're not going to give you a lot more money because your ratings are going backwards. Yeah, Batista will pop a rating, man. Put him over on Raw. Tell people it's going to happen. Make it a surprise at the top of the show and then do something big with them at the end of the show. I'm okay with it. Raw is so boring and so bad, I'll see another old-timer come back. Doesn't even have to be a match. But I think the writing is on the wall here, man. Batista's ready to do some stuff with WWE. I don't think it doesn't even have to be one night. You could do something, lead into Fastlane, man. Fastlane is what, the 7th? Couple of Saturdays. You still got 2-3 weeks. Do something at Fastlane, maybe. But, or do you have him show up in Survivor Series? You know his relationship with CM Punk. That would be interesting. How they did Pat McAfee and The Rock, they did like a double surprise. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could go with this, man. But there's speculation, not just because he was spotted at the PC, not just because Hollywood's on strike and, wouldn't it be cool if Batista came back? No, there's speculation because Batista is telling you, I now have a wide open schedule and I will absolutely come back to WWE. Just got to do the call. Let me know what we're doing. Big, man. Big. And he's known about, they've been on strike for weeks. That's why Cena knew for weeks that he could do a full 2-month schedule with WWE. That's why The Rock planned this one out. So, is he at the PC because he's already gotten the call? Is there already something with Batista and that's why he was there? Interesting. We'll be keeping an eye on that for sure. Let's go over to, I told you it was a packed podcast, man. I tried to tell you that, man. There's so much more to talk about. Let's talk AEW's Dynamite Grand Slam. Let's do that. First of all, let me go over the quick results. This will only take a minute if you guys didn't see the show. Eddie Kingston defeated Claudio to win the ROH title and retain his IWGP Strong title. Kingston, big moment for him. Jericho defeated Sammy Guevara. Inner Circle implodes, literally, because post-match, Sammy Guevara delivers that low blow to Jericho, a page out of Jericho's book. So Sammy, in effect, turns on Jericho. Don Callis, the catalyst to such. Saraya defeated Toni Storm to retain her championship. A lot of fans did not like that call, but you can't play hot potato with it. And Toni just had it, so if Toni gets it back a month later, that's a game of hot potato. Saraya defeats Toni Storm. MJF defeats Samoa Joe via ref stoppage. There was a choke out, chain involved, so it wasn't a straight up choke, but a referee stoppage nonetheless. A lot of people don't like that Samoa Joe lost in that way. But you can't have MJF drop his title at a Grand Slam Wednesday Night Dynamite. Not going to happen. Also, guys, Mox. This one was rough. And in that main event, Adam Cole, I'm saving those two stories. Adam Cole came out during the Samoa Joe match and the Mox botch. These are two big injuries that happened last night. Now, one of them, freak accident. AEW star Adam Cole. And this sucks. Let me get a swig of coffee because this situation just sucks. Especially, it's early filming this podcast, recording this for you guys. But, so I don't have enough information, but it looked pretty bad. We're hoping it's just a sprain, but man, it did not look good. And Adam Cole has been so injury prone. He finally comes back. He's been opening up about how special this run means to him. And all of a sudden, back on the shelf. Let me get a swig of coffee. We'll talk about these two injuries. The other one was a straight up, it was inevitable and it led into a botch. Just bad all around. All right, so Adam Cole, we'll start with this injury. He's coming out during Samoa Joe's match last night. He's running, man. He's hitting the ring hard, right? He's running down that ramp. Looks like a nice, slick, shiny ramp. And he's already walking. He's running bow-legged. It's like you could tell he's not comfortable on that ramp. So when he gets to the tail end of that ramp, he leaps off of it and jumps down to like the ringside mat, right? So he jumps off the ramp at the tail end. And we lose him for a second. Now, he's a small dude, but I'm like, you should at least see his head, right? From the ring apron. No, it's because he fell. So he twisted, sprained, broke his ankle, did something to his ankle. And you see him, the camera picks him up, and he's just getting back to his feet, sort of. And the adrenaline's kicking in. He knows he's live. And he's trying to run around because Joe has his coquina clutch on. And Adam Cole is yelling, trying to do his hype up. And you could tell, like, when he was running over to yell into the ring, he was literally limping, and his foot just looked like it was sideways. So something was obviously wrong. Afterwards, we find out he was taken to the Haas, and he walked out of that Haas on crutches. On crutches. Now, if it's a sprain, now we've all sprained our ankle. A tough guy like Adam Cole, you're pretty much just going to you're doing the limp, right? You're not going to walk on crutches. The athletes will not do that, even if it's recommended by 10 out of 10 docs. If it's something more than a sprain or a real severe sprain, right? A tier lower than a break, maybe you would do the crutches. My point is, for him to be on crutches tells you that he was in immense pain and that this is a little worse than just a normal mid-level sprain. It would tell you that there's a reason he's on those crutches. And this is coming from somebody who snapped his ankle in half, by the way, in football. Snapped my elbow in half, snapped my ankle in half, and I'll tell you guys the amount of pain, right? And I had to fucking hobble to get over to a bench after. I was literally walking on that shit after I snapped it. But this is coming from somebody who's had the most severe of ankle injuries. So I can tell you guys, man, if you're put up on crutches, there's a reason for it. Otherwise, I've also sprained my both ankles about fucking a couple dozen times. You're not going to be putting BC on a crutch, no. Adam Cole's kind of the same way. A lot of these athletes are. So walking out on crutches, that does not sound good. We're going to find out more. Hopefully it is just a sprain, but I would not be shocked if he was walking on a broken ankle. Sometimes it's only a fragment too. I've also done that to an ankle where I just broke a fragment, a piece of it, but it's still a break. So anyway, Adam Cole, freak accident. He was just jumping off of the ramp, and a lot of people are calling him stupid, and was that needed? But he's amplified. You're running through the curtain. I miss that. I love that. But we have seen people just be too amplified and they injure themselves during their entrance. I remember CM Punk last year, was it, right? He leaps into the crowd in his entrance. Stage dive. Like he's a rock star. And he ended up like tearing something, breaking, I don't know, his leg was fucked up. Freak accident still. You can say he shouldn't have done that. It's not a freak accident. It's stupidity. But no, it's still a freak accident. I mean, the dude just did a little bit of a jump. He was amplified during his entrance, and he got hurt before the match. You also recall, who else was it? Didn't I put somebody else in my notes? Yeah, Sami Zayn. I put Sami Zayn in my notes because I remember maybe it was like a John Cena Open Challenge for the U.S. title, something like that. And Sami Zayn was ultra amplified, and he throws his arms up to pump up the crowd, and he threw his shoulder out of socket, injured. And I'm not laughing because that's a good thing. It was just such a freak action. Like, you can't make this up. Poor Sammy was just pumping up the crowd in his entrance. His music is blasting, the crowd is pumped, and he throws his shoulder out of socket. It's those type of freak acts. Goldberg, right? I remember one time he knocked himself out. He's so amplified. He used to butt his head against the door. He goes out to take on The Undertaker. I think it was like Saudi Arabia, one of those super shows. Or a Super Showdown, something like that. Crown Jewel, something like that. And he knocked himself out. So he goes out there to take on The Undertaker. And the whole match was one botch after the other. Almost dropped The Undertaker on his head 3 times. Barely knew where he was at, if he did. Goldberg knocked himself out during his entrance. He was so amplified. Vince McMahon blew out both quads when he was so amplified. I think it was like SummerSlam, something like that. And Vince McMahon is doing his Vince power walk, and he goes to leap into the ring, both legs, not just like one leg first, both legs just leap into the ring, and he fucking blew out both quads. He was so amplified. Shane McMahon, it wasn't during an entrance. He got into the ring this past WrestleMania. He does one thing, leapfrog. He's so amplified. He got so much height. And for his age, he doesn't realize your body ain't the same that it once was. So on the landing, he just fucking blew his leg out. That's what I mean. I mean, these wrestlers are ultra amplified, so you really can't blame that. You really can't call them stupid, man. They're amped up. Take that door and butt your head on it, but do it in a way where you're not going to knock yourself out. Pump up the crowd. But what do you tell Sami Zayn? Do it in a way where you're not throwing your shoulder out. I'm sure that's the last thing he thought he was going to do just by doing this motion. Anyway, guys, I just gave you guys a plethora of examples of just freak accidents during entrances, and Adam Cole just looks like the latest casualty. We hope him the best, we wish him the best, and hopefully it's just a minor injury, but it just sucks because he's so injury prone, and his AEW run has just been so bad. It's almost like when these wrestlers sometimes, they make a big decision in their career, sometimes these wrestlers get really lucky, like Cody Rhodes. It's like, wow, he went to WWE on such a gamble. And it paid off more than anybody ever could have imagined. Even with that WrestleMania botch call. He should have won the title. That's obvious, but that's another story. I mean, this is one heck of a ride. He's doing all the Make-A-Wishes. He's doing the thing for Connor's cure. I mean, he's like a poster child. Drinking the WWE Kool-Aid in full. Look what he said when KO said this past Monday, well, why did you bring Jay to Monday nights? And Cody goes, my job is to put smiles on people's faces and make people happy. I mean, Cody Rhodes is the person he always wanted to be. In WWE as John Cena. He always wanted to be that. So you look at Cody and it just paid off. And then you look at people like Bret Hart. He goes to WCW and it was like this black cloud was over him. From day one, the booking, everything about Bret Hart, it was like, whoa, maybe he should have tried to make this work with Vince. And not even get to the Survivor Series moment. The screw job. And then you see the Goldberg kick to Bret Hart, and he ended Bret's career with that kick to the dome piece. And it's like, wow, like Bret Hart's whole WCW thing, how weird. And you look at guys like Adam Cole, who they were the guy in NXT. And there was that rumor that he was going to be the manager of Keith Lee. Adam Cole admitted, though, even though he has fun and he's mentioned that in promo sense, he admitted in an interview he never heard anything of that. Keith Lee said that, and Adam Cole. They never heard anything about being a manager with Keith Lee. But he has fun with it now because that was the rumor. But he was the guy there. And now in AEW, it's been one hiccup, one roadblock, one speed bump after another. It's just been horrendous for Adam Cole. And you kind of feel bad. There's no momentum. And when he is healthy and rocking, Tony Khan doesn't know how to book him properly. Very weird, man. It's one of those scenarios where, the grass is not always greener on the other side. Speaking of the other side, the other gentleman that was injured last night. Now, this one is inevitable, right? He was going to get injured because it's Mox's way of wrestling. Yes, it's Jon Moxley we're talking about. Now, Mox was in there last night. Now, he was in there with Rey Fenix. And this was, it was a botched finish because Mox, we believe, got a concussion. We believe. It's early recording this. This is the information we have. If he runs more tests and they find out he was all right, or it's not a concussion full blown, then okay, we'll find that out. But he was down and out last night. Like, he couldn't even answer the 3 count. So something bad happened. We usually call that a concussion. No matter what level, he was knocked out. And we know this because the finish was botched. Rey Fenix, he went in. Now, this was the International Championship match, for those of you that didn't catch the event, just for transparency. Mox, your champion, Phoenix, a challenger. Mox obviously was supposed to go over. You're not gonna do the Orange Cassidy thing that you just did. You're not going to do the whole Orange Cassidy defeat and then Rey Fenix is going to take it. You wouldn't do that, right? So that's why you had to call the audible once you knew Mox was hurt. But on top of the dreaded audible, that now makes no sense, but you had to call it. On top of the audible, you have the botch from last night. So I just wanted to set that up. So now you have Rey Fenix, Mox for Mox's International Championship. The finish saw Rey hit his Black Fire driver, his finisher. Mox is supposed to kick out. Mox didn't. He was fucked up. So the ref just doesn't count the 3. He just stops the count. So Phoenix has to go back. It has to deliver it again. Now, at this point, guys, this is why WWE implements their what do they call it? Don't they call it, did I have it in my, ref's discretion. Thank goodness I put it in my notes. I knew there was a name for it. They call it ref's discretion, right? That's when the ref uses his discretion. If he thinks like a wrestler did not, even if they're not like injured, they missed their spot to kick out. The ref can count to 3. He makes his own audible, and the decision, unfortunately, even though it wasn't planned, that's the call, because the ref cannot make the product look silly. He cannot expose the product. And in this day and age where there's so many spots to remember, it's like a spot fest every match. A lot of these wrestlers are missing their cue, so the ref is counting to 3 in WWE. I like the ref's discretion rule. If you ain't answering it, the ref counts it. This is one of those scenarios where AEW could have used that, because this was just silly. Like, Mox was not answering that count. So then we have to hit the move again, and then finally the ref is like, I have to count now. Yeah, you do. It's an audible. And unfortunately, I mean, congrats to Phoenix, but that was not supposed to be the call. Phoenix gets this championship, and Mox is injured. It looks to be concussion. Now, the bigger thing, other than the botch of the wrestling, we hope that Mox is good. We're hearing that he is, guys. That's why we're not taking this too far. We are hearing that Tony Khan and everybody checked on him. All the other members of the Blackpool Combat Club, all the other wrestlers, he seems to be cool. It's Mox. He's tough. It could be a severe concussion. He's still going to tell you he's cool. Have a cigar and a beer. One in each hand. But Mox, it looks like he suffered a concussion, a botched finish, and an audible that saw a new champion, and now none of it makes sense. That sucks. On every level, that sucks. But we wish Mox the best, and we'll see how they try to overcome this. But Mox and Adam Cole, 2 top stars in AEW, injured after last night's Grand Slam event. Where else do we want to go, man? Okay, you know what we'll do? This is going a long time. I told you, man, there was so much. We'll end it on this story, and then anything else I have left we'll save for another podcast. But Tony Khan was recently asked, why do you cut the promo like you just did in Chicago, addressing the fans over the CM Punk contract being terminated? Why do you address everybody at the top of the ramp? Why don't you come to the ring and like make it a little bit more personal, where you're like in the ring addressing the crowd? Why do you do it at the stage? Why pull out the chair and sit down where you feel so distant? And Tony Khan's response was, well, I want to see the entire audience, he said. I want them to be able to see me and I can see them. And he says, when you're in the middle of the ring, you have to concentrate on one side of the crowd. First of all, no, you don't. Especially because his when he's addressing the crowd, it's never on TV usually. So he just like opens the show before the show opens, I should say, and he addresses the live crowd. Go into the ring and do what the wrestlers do in live TV promos. You walk around the ring. You address every side. You make it really enjoyable and personal, and you get to really interact with that live crowd. Rock stars do it all. You see concerts all the time with a center stage, and you just literally, the act will go around and around. Phil Collins was masterful in doing that. It's a wrestling ring. You have a mic, you just go around. You address everybody. You don't got to stay stiff at the hard cam, especially when these are all promos being cut that are not even on TV. So that doesn't make any sense. And I think he realized that, because then as he kept answering, he went to a totally different answer. He says, well, come to think of it too, I shouldn't even be part of the show. So I think the wrestling ring should be reserved for the actual wrestlers, the talent. I have no business being in there. Which is it? The fans deserve to all be able to see you and you should be able to speak to everybody, or is it you shouldn't be in there? Which is it? These are 2 totally separate answers. Right? Just seems odd to me. Just 2 totally different answers. That's all. I just say you don't feel comfortable in the middle of the ring. You feel you're a good hype man, but you feel kind of awkward out there, so you just want to hype everybody up and then take the nearest exit out, which would be at the top of the ramp, right? You just got to turn around, 2 steps, you're gone. Just say that, man. I don't know. Anyway, I knew it was going to be a lengthy podcast. We might as well end it with a laugh. Tony Khan usually gives us some good content. So, guys, that's what I got for you. The Amplified Man. Top guy, I'm out. Until next time, and there will be that next time. The Amped Up Podcast, now complete. I told you this was going to be a big one. Damn, did we deliver. All right, guys, till next time. BC saying check you. Peace.